As a nation, we are all living in unprecedented times. As COVID-19 continues to change the lives of everyday people forever, including 1.5 billion children around the globe that have to be homeschooled, many without the proper resources. It's been almost 2 months since the widespread shutdown of schools and universities all over the country. Parents, teachers, and according to UNESCO, approximately 258 million students in the U.S. are beginning to feel the real impact of it all, especially communities that have limited access to food and technology. While some schools were prepared to switch to virtual learning, Brittany Zezima, ESL teacher at Colonial School District, shares this is not the case for everyone, and it's starting to show.
Obviously, one of the difficulties was going to be that we needed to make sure everybody had technology. Colonial School District is a one-to-one district, meaning every student does have their own Chromebook, but they don't take the devices home in our district. So we needed to figure out how we were going to go ahead and deploy devices to each student so that they could go and even access the remote learning to begin with. So we started by first contacting as many parents as possible, which is easier said than done, because parents work. Parents at that point were worried about, their employment status. I would say those are the two biggest hurdles, were getting in contact with families and getting devices into the hands of, as many students as possible.
Attempting to provide a silver lining, local organizations and companies in Wilmington have stepped up to help. So You Need a Tutor and tech company Nerd It Now have provided communities access to laptops, food, learning packets, and more to minimize the digital divide that is penetrating underserved communities. However, lack of funding is among many issues. Home culture and language barriers are also making it difficult for multicultural students to learn from home.
For my students, being newcomer English learners, they obviously just being in class in a typical setting is a challenge when it comes to comprehension and, the supports that they need. So now you're taking all of that and you're shifting it to a screen. There's going to be some level of difficulty, especially for English learners, because typically, we don't recommend in the world of ESL a whole bunch of screen-based instruction.
¿Quién, tú o yo? ¿Todos? Sí. Okay, what do you want to do?
According to U.S. News and World Report, roughly 25 million people in the U.S. speak no or limited English. Language comprehension has been an underlying learning curve that ELL learners have long faced, and Brittany shared that she fears that language regression could become a new battle that teachers and students will have to overcome together.
How many of you guys translate for your parents?
This was not part of the typical learning routine. Using Zoom, we do use Google Docs in the classroom, but obviously we went from me being there and being able to help you use a lot of these platforms to now you having to do it on your own. And, of course, to a certain extent, there's only so much support that can be provided when I'm not in the room with you.
For many students, learning will never be the same. Classroom-style learning helped ESL students to acclimate into American culture, and with school closures lasting until the fall, their real-life experiences will be extremely limited.
Any parent is concerned about maintaining their employment and, getting to work, and how that's going to look completely different given the situation at hand. But specifically with our kids, that means a lot of the time that they are fairly isolated in the house if they have to be perhaps, as middle schoolers, the caretaker for a younger sibling, or it's just simply a matter of, well, we have one car and dad needs to take the car to work, so we're not going anywhere. Or, now all of the language hurdles that you normally encounter in daily life are tenfold because everybody's just worried about trying to survive.
I spoke with Wilmington native Keiarah Fletcher, special education first grade teacher at Eastside Charter. She says her life as an educator, community organizer, and young millennial has completely changed as well, trying to keep up with her new norm.
Everything that we have going on right now with this whole new change and this pandemic that's going on, it's made it like so much harder in a way. I'll explain from both sides. And I say that because, you know, when you have a organization and you're used to being out in the city and in the community, it's like now we can't be out. So everything is just like at a standstill. On the bright side of that, a lot of people and young millennials like myself are, using different things online. So that's the positive part about it. It's like we have time to sit here and create our own space and create and do other things that, we wouldn't normally do if we were going to work or we were, having other things going on outside of just being home. Me personally, I work with younger kids. So it's not as easy as, an older kid or a younger millennial to get on by themselves. Like we have to depend on our younger kids' parents to actually log them in, and then we never know if they have other things going on. So it's just been a pull, for us in doing this whole Zoom, this whole online thing with our younger kids. It's been so hard. We're trying the best that we can, but it's like pulling teeth. Yeah, my biggest advice is like, I actually had a parent recently and she was just like, I have to work. I don't want my child, on the computer while I'm not around. I get that, but it's very, very, very important. If you have other children in the house, or if you're, you have work to do, or you're, as a parent, if you're doing other things, you're trying to cook, you're trying to take care of the house, it's very important that your child logs in, because we don't want them to miss that connection that they have, or that space from not being in school and being home. We don't want them to lose that. Like they have to get their education, and that's what we're here for. We have the resources, we have the things online that we can send to them. We reach out to parents, so it's very important for the parents themselves to make sure that they're staying on top of their child. Like make sure you're logging in, even if you feel like you can't work with them yourself, send them to us, because that's what we're here for. We're here for that.
So this leaves me with one question. As schools prepare now to transition to a new way of learning in the fall, will education and child development systems become equally individually responsive to the needs of students, or will school districts fail to improve the status quo? I guess only time will tell. Economically challenged communities are going to be the most vulnerable in any crisis, and if school districts plan on really thriving after this pandemic, equal opportunity to educational resources has to be a top priority. Reporting from Wilmington, Delaware, India Sage Williams, 22 News.